Welcome back. A record number of people in the US are travelling for the Independence Day holiday weekend, but travel obstacles ranging from staffing shortages at airports to delays caused by weather and smoke from the Canadian wildfires are delivering a bumpy ride for many. Tony Waterman has more from Texas.
It's the first time since baby Mila was born that the Reshamwalas are traveling. Their destination, California, to visit family and beat the intense Texas heat.
We're going to take these two to Monterey Bay Aquarium and try to do a little bit of sightseeing and then just spend some time with family, which is nice. So it's been the first time in a while since we're heading out, so really excited.
They are just 4 of the nearly 51 million people the Auto Association AAA expects to travel 50 miles or more this July 4th weekend, a record both by plane and by car. High ticket prices not enough to deter travelers anxious to break free for a little fun.
There's a lot of pent-up demand for travel still from the pandemic. Airports across the country are crazy busy, so we're asking folks to arrive early, to plan ahead, and to pack their patience.
Upwards of 35,000 passengers are expected a day at the Austin airport. And while things have been running smoothly here, there's reason to fear that may not be the case nationwide. In the past week, intense thunderstorms and a shortage of air traffic controllers have led to tens of thousands of flights being delayed or canceled, snarling airports and leaving tens of thousands of travelers stranded and frustrated.
I think airlines should then adjust the number of flights based on the number of staff that they have. We're hearing about the air traffic controllers as well. That's always been a huge issue, so I feel like that's something that needs to be addressed.
Meteorologists expect fewer storms in the coming days, but the chronic shortfall of air traffic controllers who are responsible for rerouting flights during severe weather won't be solved overnight, meaning the problem could stretch well into summer.
Another problem that could linger, wildfire smoke from Canada, which is impacting visibility in the north of the country, both for drivers and pilots. And extreme heat here in Texas and across the south could trigger hail and thunderstorms during what is forecast to be the busiest travel season in American history. Traveling this summer, certainly not for the faint of heart. Tony Waterman, CGTN, Austin, Texas.
For analysis, we turn now to Mark Weiss. He's a retired American Airlines captain and president of the Weiss Consulting Group. Thanks for coming on the program today, Mark.
Thank you, Sally.
We got a little bit of an overview there from the reporting in Texas, but what would you say is causing these huge, unusual number of delays?
Well, you have to look at the total picture of it. There's no one event or one singular thing that is causing these delays. And in many ways, it's kind of a cascading event. You have a dearth of air traffic controllers, we know that. You know, one of the things, and I don't think people really realize, is that air traffic controllers are retired by law to retire at 56 years old. That certainly cuts down on the serviceable lifespan of somebody who's taken years to train. And it takes about 3 years to train an air traffic controller. It's a very high pressure job. That's certainly one factor that's happening. Another factor is, you can't predict weather. Weather is something that you deal with on a regular basis. Whether you have thunderstorm activity that you can't land at an airport or you have to circumnavigate. And remember, when you do something like that, it takes airspace to do that. It's time consuming, which adds to both a pilot's time on duty and delays en route. Everything seems to kind of build up and mount up. So it's not one factor that's causing all of these problems.
So United Airlines and JetBlue are blaming the Federal Aviation Administration for these delays. Tell us what role the FAA play in regulating and managing flight times. We heard there about the staffing shortages, but is it all on the FAA here?
Oh, no, certainly not. I mean, it's easy to point fingers in every direction. That goes without saying. But, there are certain rules, and regulations that the airlines have to live with whether it's crew delays. There's only a certain amount of hours in a day that pilots and flight attendants can be on duty. And when you think about that, that's for the general well-being of the passengers. Aviation is built the core of safety, and everything that really surrounds it is focused upon how to make that safer on a continuing basis. The airlines point the fingers on staffing, that you don't have enough air traffic controllers, which means if a flight is scheduled and they can't get the airspace available to them, the pilot's time still continues. So it becomes an effect of cascading problems. You don't have enough time for the crews. The airplane's supposed to be somewhere. The controllers can only be on duty a certain number of hours. So everything becomes backlogged. And it's easy to point fingers.
So what would you say are the ways that the airspace needs to improve? How can we look forward to a post-pandemic future and get things back up and running in the way that they once were?
Well, I think what you're seeing, remember what happened. I mean, everything after COVID, everything stopped. People retired. There's a shortage of pilots. There's a shortage of controllers. Things will start to come back to what more of us consider a normal life as time goes on. But this, again, takes some time. It's not going to happen now. It's not going to happen over the next number of months. It may take more than a year before things start to return to what we consider more normal. The other thing is, the air traffic control, the FAA has been working on next-gen air traffic control, where they open up more airspace to aircraft, and that will allow more routes, and with better navigation equipment, with more routes, with more controllers, and with more trained pilots, things will start to ease. The pent-up desire to fly right now is enormous. That will probably wane to some degree over the next year or so. Even if it stays where it is, there's a catch-up. Everybody's going to play catch-up with this. And I think you'll see that they'll maintain an equilibrium in the not-too-distant future.
All right, Mark Weiss, thanks very much. A retired American Airlines captain and president of Weiss Consulting.
Thank you.